Hello everybody, Andrew Casey at Hypersanity Books for Kids. I'm taking a look at a book I've reviewed a long time ago, Nightmare Spider Apocalypse, written by Dean Hanson. At the time he was a lot younger, I believe 10 at the time, and from here he has built up his writing career. I'm going to touch on a few things within today's video, hopefully to inspire young authors out there, because I think there are some things to consider when working on some different publications, and taking some opportunity at a young age is not necessarily a bad idea. And I think there is a lot to learn from in today's video. Number 1, collaboration. The thing I do want to make clear with a lot of projects is who you collaborate with. If you are doing Kindle Direct Publishing, usually it's a lot simpler, so you're not doing as much collaboration. However, in Dean's case, Dean is the author and he wrote the book. He came up with the ideas, he learnt how to write quite well, especially having a supportive father. That's one of the biggest points. His father, Damien Hanson, also goes under the pen name of Dames Hanson. And I always do that wink, but he has also written other children's books. And there's just ways of how he knows with a lot of experience, and having a supportive father with a lot of experience helps to publish books. So from here, you have the collaboration of the author, the editor, and then the next person to outsource to is the illustrator. And then there are other parties to deal with, especially if you're then working in with doing an audio book, or you're turning your book into something else with a project, or marketing different products. Whatever the case, it's working on who your team is. But primarily, I have to say this, Dean Hanson took a shot at such a young age, and in the projects ahead, it has paid off. Number 2, from the author's perspective. I've been asked the question about adding yourself within a story, and I think Dean Hanson did this well. And I think it is a good recommendation for young authors. You're writing from your perspective, in the first person perspective, and how you interpret the world of what's currently going on. And within the imagination, there is a certain interest between, even though I'm an adult, I got into the child's mind. And I think with some of the storytelling, it also showed that he has a lot of creative ideas. And at such a young age, you can already see from what he wrote with this story that he will get more experience and write some fantastic works ahead. But focusing on the book at hand, it was interesting to be in his perspective. I know Faceless Book Reviews has talked about this question just recently, and I think this is an example, especially for young authors, to read this book. Number 3, outline. Yes, so he has outlined the book with 8 chapters, and all are pretty consistent in the way that he has worked his writing method to keep them all close to the same amount of word count and pages. Again, I'm not saying that it's one type of writing method or another type of writing method. The fact is, he has done well to structure his book to be nice and clean. From here into his follow-up book that he did later on, Trapped in Roadblocks, is 16 chapters. And kind of similar, with a similar amount of pages and word count. So that's one thing I do find with books that do annoy me, especially with young authors, and it's just a constructive criticism. You could have one chapter be a few pages, and then something be 20 pages, and then back to a few pages, and then 20 pages. So there can be some inconsistencies. I feel the balance of the story, from what he's showing and telling from one chapter to the next, it has a consistent flow of story, and every chapter is relevant to keep that flow. Number 4, descriptive writing. A lot of authors, especially young authors and early authors, do struggle with writing descriptions. I still struggle with it, even after a couple books. I still struggle with writing descriptions, and there are different reasons why we struggle. More to the point, Dean Hanson has a good, consistent flow of his story, and I do reference a little bit of the story in another light, that it's Tremors for kids. Instead of being for the survival horror side of a B-grade movie, there is something else that's exciting and kind of fun with the way the book is. The description side of escaping from a spider's grasp, or how the spider in one of the shopping areas scurries along the ground and crashes into things. I found he wrote quite well the descriptions, it's easy to understand, and the story has a consistent flow. Number 5, other suggestions. I'm not going to spoil his book because it is a small book, but it also has a lot of information in there. I don't want to spoil the book. I think it's something to read for yourself, get into the imagination, feel what it's like to write for your own writing. Try writing some first-person perspective from your point of view in a situation. Try doing some survival horror writing. Try to talk about a circumstance of where you're in some sort of situation and what your character, what you would do to get out of that situation, and put different barriers and complications in some chapters. But as a structured book, as a story with a consistent flow, this is wonderful. Also, one thing I can't stress the most with Dean Hanson's work, he has the best supportive father. That is something that will last a lifetime. And from here, Dean has written a lot more books. And when you look at some of the 5-star and 4-star ratings, especially mostly 5-star, and a lot of ratings, he has done well to cement a early career path in his young childhood. I am curious to see more work that he's going to do in years to come. I also wonder what type of target audience Dean is going to write for. Is he going to write for the younger audience in doing some game-lit fantasy books? And again, I will say this, with Trapped in Roblox, I wasn't keen to give the book a go. I've tried playing Roblox and it didn't work out too well. However, I will give it another attempt again with my son. And within his books and works, he does put in the account that he has while he's playing with his father. And again, there's just different things that we do in our relationships that help build things, and working on some books in a family is an interesting approach. And I've learnt so much from the experiences that Dean Hanson has shared, but mostly as an adult I correspond a lot more with Damien Hanson. And I do have some other suggestions that come forward for other ideas that might help with some other authors, which is steering away from the discussion at hand. However, with Nightmare Spider Apocalypse, I have to say 5 out of 5. It is a good book. Number 6, co-authors. So the one thing I do want to touch on from this video, which is a little bit more steering away from Dean's work, but his father's work with Joseph Phelps and some other people working on other projects. Damien Hanson has written some other books into the adult fiction, and I found his book series on the Shop Apocalypse. It's got some excellent reviews. It's been in the top 10 on some of the different genres on Amazon and Amazon Audiobook, which has brought me to another idea to prepare setting up another channel. Hypersanity audiobooks. And again, I'm not doing too much with that project just yet because we've only just started this channel underneath Hypersanity Books. So in all purposes at the moment, I'll touch on that another day. But I wonder with co-authors, because in my own experiences, I found doing 50-50 of the work may be overwhelming. Sometimes I think another subject matter I will touch on, a 90% of the workload and 10% split with assistance. And I don't know, there's just something about how, in this case scenario, Dean Hanson and Damien Hanson, father and son, have worked together, and it's inspired me to think about some other options with my own child to work on some more collaborations. And yes, it might be a case where I might write a book soon with my son, and he will do 10% of the work, sparking ideas, and then I might do 90% of the work as the majority of the editing and structuring of the story. Depends on the type of book to write. But I just want to go back to Dean Hanson's work and just say, at such a young age, he started and took some shots. and he took more shots, and they have paid off. And he has opened some more opportunity for himself. And his father has also had a passion for teaching and writing. And I don't know, I think this Hanson family has something so much more to offer. And I want to keep corresponding and keep working in with them on some other projects that I'm working on with Hypersanity Books. However, as a family, there's something else about the family dynamic about writing books together. And I feel I want to review more of their work within this channel and other channels, of course. But that is another story and shall be told another time.